You've done the hard work, dug deep, faced yourself, tried to change. You've extended the olive branch, the teacup, the handwritten note, and still, silence, resistance, rewrite after rewrite of the same painful script. In Wonderland, doors talk and flowers sing, but sometimes the people we long to connect with the most, build walls too high for even magic to climb. This series is for those moments when your vulnerability is met with rolled eyes, when your growth is seen as betrayal, and when trying to reconnect feels like shouting through a hedge maze. You're not imagining it, you're not too much, and no, you don't owe anyone a version of yourself that shrinks just to fit inside their comfort zone. This is the wall and the Wonderland, a journey into what it means to seek closeness, and what it costs when others refuse to meet you halfway.
Some people don't actually want connection. They want control. They twist conversations, spin guilt, and rewrite reality, turning your feelings upside down until you question what's true. This episode is for anyone who's faced manipulators, gaslighters, or guilt weavers. The ones who demand obedience like a stubborn queen ruling her castle with iron fists. We'll explore how to recognize these power struggles, understand what's really going on beneath the surface, and how to protect your heart and your boundaries. This can be heavy stuff, so please take care of yourself as we go through it. Pause, breathe, or step away if you need to. Your safety comes first. I want to take you into a story, a moment that feels all too familiar for many of us. Imagine sitting at a grand table in a sprawling castle, surrounded by faces that shift between warmth and cold calculation. The Queen of Hearts presides, her temper fierce, her voice sharp as a blade. She demands obedience, and the slightest hesitation is met with decree, "Off with their heads!" Or, in real life, a barrage of guilt, blame, and emotional manipulation. The story isn't from Wonderland, though. It's from real life. From a time when I, or someone like me, tried to set a boundary, speak honestly, or simply be themselves. The response? A wave of gaslighting that made me question my own reality. You're being too sensitive. You misunderstood. That never happened. The constant rewriting of the story left me dizzy, unsure of what was true. Then came the guilt trips, the unspoken accusations that I was the cause of the tension, that I owed their forgiveness for the anger, that my feelings were burdensome. It felt like walking on eggshells, never knowing when the next storm would erupt. There was emotional withholding too, silence used as a weapon, warmth pulled back like a tide receding, leaving cold shores of loneliness. I found myself shrinking, trying to fit the mold the queen wanted. Quiet, compliant, invisible. But somewhere in the midst of the confusion and doubt, frustration took root. I realized this wasn't connection. It was control disguised as care. And control doesn't want me to grow, to speak, to stand firm. Reclaiming power began with small acts, naming the gaslighting, refusing to carry the guilt, seeking out moments of true kindness and clarity. Like stepping out of the castle's shadow into the sunlight, learning that my voice matters, my boundaries matter. The queen's decree may have been loud, but my quiet strength grew louder. When it comes to recognizing manipulation and control, the very first step is knowing what to look for. These tactics rarely announce themselves clearly. Instead, they often come wrapped in seemingly harmless or even caring words, disguised as concern, love, humor, or even self-deprecation. But beneath that surface, their true purpose is far less innocent, maintaining power and control over you. Let's break down some common behaviors you might recognize and how they operate in subtle but damaging ways. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is one of the most insidious forms of manipulation. It's a sneaky tactic where your reality is deliberately twisted or denied until you start doubting your own perceptions, memories, and feelings. You might hear phrases like, "You're remembering that wrong." "You're just being too sensitive." "That never happened the way you think." The goal is to erode your confidence in what you knew to be true. When you begin to question your own experience, you become more dependent on the manipulator's version of reality. It's a form of emotional control that makes you feel unsteady, confused, and unsure who to trust, even yourself. Guilt weaving. Guilt weaving is a pervasive tactic where manipulators thread guilt through nearly every conversation. They make you feel responsible for their emotions, their problems, or even their happiness. It might sound like, "After all I've done for you." If you really cared, you would have, "You're making me feel terrible." This weaving of guilt is designed to trap you emotionally, making you feel obligated to comply with their wishes, even when those wishes conflict with your boundaries or well-being. It's an emotional leash, tugging at your sense of responsibility and love, making it harder to say no or set limits. Emotional blackmail. Emotional blackmail uses threats, sometimes overt, sometimes subtle, to force compliance. The threats might not be direct words, but actions or silent punishments that pressure you to do what they want. Common examples include withdrawal of affection or love when you don't comply, silent treatment that isolates you and leaves you anxious, veiled warnings about consequences if you don't behave a certain way, like, "If you leave, you'll regret it." This tactic isn't about open communication or resolving conflict. It's about corrosion, using fear and uncertainty to bend your will. Constant tests. Some controlling people never stop testing your loyalty, affection, or limits. These tests might come as accusations without cause. "Why didn't you answer my text right away?" Or, "Who were you just talking about right now?" Designed to provoke anxiety and compliance. They might demand constant reassurance or push boundaries repeatedly just to see if you'll back down or conform. This keeps you on edge, always second-guessing yourself and desperate to keep the peace. Recognizing these behaviors is crucial because they chip away at your sense of safety, self-worth, and trust in your own feelings. These tactics aren't about true connection. They're about control, domination, and maintaining power at your expense. Knowing what to look for is the first step towards reclaiming your voice and setting firm boundaries that protect your emotional well-being. All these tactics have one thing in common. They're not about connection. They're about control. Genuine connection is rooted in respect, honesty, and mutual care. Manipulation, on the other hand, erodes trust and chips away at your self-worth. When you're caught in these patterns, it's normal to feel confused, anxious, and even question your own value. Emotional safety is compromised, and that's why recognizing these signs is so important. You deserve relationships where you feel seen, respected, and safe, not controlled or diminished. Power struggles are exhausting. They drain us, emotionally, mentally, even physically. When you're caught in a constant battle for control, every conversation feels like walking on a tightrope. Every interaction laced with tension and uncertainty. This kind of struggle erodes trust, not just between people, but within yourself. You start to second-guess your feelings, your boundaries, your sense of what is fair and true. And over time, that doubt chips away at your self-worth. It's important to understand that the person trying to control you often isn't as powerful as they seem. Their need to dominate or manipulate usually comes from a place of fear, insecurity, or deep vulnerability. Sometimes, they're desperately trying to hold on to a sense of safety or control because they don't know how to cope otherwise. That doesn't excuse the behavior, but it can help you separate their struggles from your own worth. And here's something you need to hear clearly. You have the right to emotional safety. You deserve respect and kindness. You don't have to engage in every battle or carry the weight of someone else's fears. Choosing to step back, set firm boundaries, or even walk away isn't weakness. It's strength. It's an act of self-preservation and love. Remember, your emotional health matters. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It's necessary. When you're dealing with someone like the stubborn queen, the manipulator, the gaslighter, the guilt weaver, setting boundaries isn't just helpful, it's absolutely essential for your emotional and mental well-being. These people who thrive on control, often at the expense of your peace, clarity, and self-esteem. Without clear boundaries, it's easy to get pulled into the endless cycle of confusion, guilt, and emotional exhaustion. First, it's crucial to recognize the signs that it's time to disengage or limit contact. If you find yourself leaving conversations feeling drained, confused, or doubting your own feelings and memories, those are major red flags. This kind of emotional depletion is a signal that your boundaries are being crossed. When you set a boundary and it's ignored, dismissed, or punished, maybe through anger, silent treatment, or escalating blame, that's your cue to step back. Sometimes the healthiest choice is less contact, or even no contact, at least for a while. Protecting your emotional health means giving yourself permission to create distance from those who repeatedly disrespected your limits. Here are some examples of firm, calmly boundary-setting language you can use. I'm not comfortable continuing this conversation when it turns to blame. I need some space to think, so I'm stepping away for now. It's not okay for you to speak to me that way. I expect respect. I hear your concerns, but I'm not willing to engage when I'm being made to feel guilty. The key is to speak calmly and clearly. When you do this, you reduce the chance of escalation because you're communicating from a place of control and calm, not fear or anger. It sends a message that you're steady, grounded, and serious about your needs. Protecting your emotional well-being also means not getting pulled into every battle or power play. The stubborn queen might try to provoke you, guilt trip you, or escalate conflicts to regain control. When this happens, remember, you don't owe an immediate response. You can pause, breathe, and choose whether to engage serves your peace or just fuels the ongoing power struggle. Sometimes silence or a simple "I'll talk when we can both be respectful" is the strongest reply. Building a support network outside of this dynamic is crucial to your healing and growth. Surround yourself with people who respect your growth and honor your boundaries. This could be trusted friends, therapists, support groups, or creative communities where you feel seen and safe. These connections remind you daily that you are worthy of kindness and respect. Something like the stubborn queen's control tactics are often tried to erase. Remember, your boundaries aren't walls meant to shut others out. They are your armor, protecting your heart and your spirit. You're not just protecting yourself from harm. You're honoring your worth, your dignity, and your right to be treated with care. Setting and maintaining these boundaries takes courage, patience, and practice. But with each boundary you hold firm, you reclaim more of your power and step further into the freedom you deserve. Imagine standing before a grand throne, once occupied by the stubborn queen, her iron grip casting long shadows across the room. The air still carries echoes of her sharp commands and cold decrees, a heavy weight pressing down on everything around. But now, the throne is empty. It's your turn. You step forward slowly, feeling the history beneath your feet, the weight of all of those who came before, the battles fought, the voices silenced, and the courage that remained buried in the dust. This throne is no longer a seat of fear, control, or manipulation. It is a seat of strength, resilience, and truth. As you reach the throne, you pause and place your hand on the armrest, feeling the carved wood's cool surface, a reminder that this power is real and yours to claim. This throne isn't about bending others to your will. It's about standing tall in your own voice, your own boundaries, and your own truth. It's your right to be seen and heard exactly as you are, on your terms. Sitting down, you close your eyes for a moment and breathe deeply, feeling a surge of calm, courage rising from within. Here, you are not a pawn in someone else's game. Here, you are the ruler of your own story, the guardian of your own heart. Claiming this throne means making hard choices, setting boundaries that others may resist, honoring your feelings even when they challenge old patterns, and choosing connection that respects and nurtures you in return. It means saying no without guilt and yes from a place of authenticity. The path ahead won't always be easy. The echoes of the past may call you with the whispers of doubt, fear, or guilt. Old patterns will try to pull you back into familiar struggles, But each time you stand firm, you reclaim a little more freedom, a little more peace. This is your journey of empowerment, one step at a time. Thank you for sharing your time and your courage with me today. Navigating these power struggles isn't easy, but every step you take to protect your heart and set boundaries is a powerful act of self-love. I invite you to take some quiet moments after this episode, reflect on what resonated, journal if you'd like, or simply breathe deeply and honor your feelings. If this episode spoke to you, consider sharing with someone who might need these words. Remember, your power belongs to you. Setting boundaries isn't just necessary, it's a beautiful form of respect for yourself. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time as we continue this journey together.